Okay, we will talk today about the additive manufacturing applications and all the fields where it is important to use the additive manufacturing products and parts and designs. We can see here an implant that's been installed on a human skull that's produced through the additive manufacturing, and as well we can see one of the important application is in the automotive industry. There is a new direction for the automotive industry to start embedding the additive manufacturing products in their recent car designs, especially for the car concepts that are supposed to be active in a couple of years. So we'll start talking about the medical applications for additive manufacturing, and that's because the medical industry is focusing these days with a growing rate on embedding the additive manufacturing technologies in the medical applications. So the medical industry recognize the added value of additive manufacturing, especially for in specific of medical applications that require a kind of speed and having the product or the part when needed, similar to having the products inside the operation rooms, for example. So additive manufacturing now used in the development of a new surgical cutting and drill guides, and as we mentioned before, for orthopedic implants and creating the patient-specific replicas of bones, organs, and blood vessels. Additive manufacturing is important for medical industry because you can customize your products to each individual, and it can be eventually easily manufactured because this helps improving the medical professionals to understand the patients and improve the patient's comfort and allowing the interaction with the product that are designed specifically for their anatomy. The medical industry having several requirements that we'll talk about them during these slides. The first requirement is the customization. When you have individual nature of healthcare, that mean the additive manufacturing is a good solution for the medical industry. And it helps manufacturing thousands of identical components, and additive manufacturing will help creating prosthetic and orthotic devices that are specified for patients with a specific anatomy, so that it will improve the effectiveness of the application. The complexity in the past with the regular manufacturing methods, it was hard to create complex organic shapes, and today the designs that additive manufacturing technologies produce are able to print can print any part without any limits. So you can do, for example, thin scaffold that perfectly follow the contour of a bone or a porous metal parts, and that can be easily manufactured. So will open the door for a lot of applications and designs that are not previously possible. That includes the facial bones, radius, and the ulna. In terms of the lead time to create tooling either in-house or from an outsource can be very slow and expensive. One of the important parts of the additive manufacturing that they provide designers and engineers and tools that are quick and able to create and iterate designs, communicate more effectively using realistic prototypes, and reduce the time between the design and the moment that you have your product or part in the market. Any medical device, in order to succeed, you need to focus on the feedback from the physicians and patients, and the speed these designs improvements can be implemented is important as well. So now in a couple of hours it is possible to iterate the design of a medical tool based on direct feedback from the surgeon who will use this tool in his field and print new prototype for evaluation. The feedback loop accelerate the design development, and the manufacturers these days can use early additive manufacturing parts so that they will support the clinical trials and early commercialization while the final design is still being optimized, which is considered as a big advantage for using the additive manufacturing in medical industry. Multi-material print. Some additive manufacturing technologies, they are able to print 3D models from different materials in single print procedure. The advantage is that the model can now have different sections representing bone, organs, and soft tissue that will help surgeons and physicians and to have a greater understanding how the patient body will feel when you're using this model to practice for surgery or even for educational purposes. For cost, in addition to the ability to create custom complex components, additive manufacturing is a good fit for low volume production, meaning cost dropping and effectiveness increasing in that case. So the individual nature of production give you expensive tooling, and machining processes are no longer required in that case. Additive manufacturing technologies only produce parts using the material they need that will reduce the waste and reduce the cost as well. Serializability, because of the application of some parts used in medical industry, the serializability is an important material property for additive manufacturing. Here we have a table that is showing us the material, the technology, and the acceptable sterilization method. We can see here, if you go with the ABS M30i, the technology used is the FDM. It can give you, you can have, as a sterilization method, you can go with the gamma irradiation and the ethylene oxide. For the PC-ISO, the technology is FDM. You can go with gamma irradiation, ethylene oxide as well. For the PPSF, you can go with the technology FDM. The sterilization method is a steam autoclave, ethylene oxide, gas plasma, chemical, gamma irradiation. For the Ultim material, you can go with the FDM technology. It can be sterilized with a steam autoclave. For the material called PA12, which is known as nylon, then the technology that can be used is the SLS. You can go with the sterilization using the steam autoclave, the ethylene oxide, gas plasma, chemical, and gamma irradiation. For the 17-4 pH stainless steel, you can go with DMLS or SLM technology. It can be sterilized using steam autoclave, ethylene oxide, gas plasma, chemical, and gamma irradiation. In terms of data generation, CT, MRI, and 3D scans, you are able to produce patient-specific parts directly from the scan data, which is considered a good benefit that is not cost-effective with most conventional manufacturing techniques. These parts are made possible by using a software that converts the patient's own scans using the computerized tomography, like the CT, or the magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, and the laser scanning into 3D files. These files will encode each patient-specific anatomic or pathologic features and then can be fabricated by the 3D printer as needed for that specific body or specific patient. CT uses many X-ray projections through that are subject to computationally reconstructions of a cross-sectional image. The CT is an imaging method for bone imaging, and for the collection of data that are used to produce medical models of hard tissue structures like bones. CT scans used in emergency rooms because the scans take fewer than 5 minutes. Patients are exposed to small amount of radiation through CT scans. So that's another thing to keep in mind about CT scans. For the MRI, it makes use of a very powerful magnet that will align the nuclei of atoms inside the body, and the variable magnetic field will make the atoms to resonate. Then the phenomenon is called nuclear magnetic resonance. The nuclei produce rotating magnetic fields that the scanner will detect and use to create an image. So the difference between the normal and abnormal tissue are clearer on MRI than on a CT scan. So MRI take a longer time to complete than the CT scan, of course. For the laser scanning, it scans the surface of the object and capture the data as a collection of points, and then used to generate 3D surface. It will enable the parts that are very difficult to precisely being measured and 3D model, so they can be digitized and accurately reproduced. Different than CT or MRI scanning, laser scanning, it doesn't show the internal features of the object being scanned. Laser scanners come with a range of sizes for different applications, with handheld variations available, giving large advantage over the industrial size CT and MRI scanners. Surgical learning tools. Many of the focus is for 3D printing in the medical industry has been laser focused on implants and medical devices used by patients. One of the largest areas for these applications concentrated on anatomical replicas. In the past, clinical trainings, education, and device testing have relied on using animal models, human cadavers, and mannequins for hands-on experience in a clinical simulation. So these kind of options have their own defects, like the limited supply, expensive of handling and storage, the lack of pathology within the models, inconsistencies with the human anatomy, and the inability to accurately represent the tissue characteristics of living humans. Physicians in these days, they can use models produced by additive manufacturing for patient scan data so that they will improve the diagnostics of illness and treatment decisions, plan, and even practice selected surgical interventions in advance of the actual treatment. So the models help the physicians understand patient's anatomy that is difficult to be visualized in a normal case, especially if you're using minimally invasive techniques. So the models will assist in accurately sizing the medical devices. Physicians can use the models to explain the upcoming surgery to patients and their families and communicate with surgical steps to the clinical team. To be able to reduce the cost, some facilities develop procedures that give the surgeons practice and plan of operation on low-cost mannequins that transplanted with patient-specific additive manufacturing models, coupled with the fact that the manufacturing technologies can produce both hard and soft materials in a single part, giving accurate replication of human tissue. Classifications and bone means that surgeons can now obtain an even better understanding of exactly how the procedure will be performed, right down to the touch and feel of the different parts for the patient's anatomy. Here we are listing the technology and what it is the best suited for. For the FDM technology, it's ideal for geometrically basic surgical models that don't need high level of detail or including intricate features. For the SLA, it is good for smaller models with a smooth surface finish. It can produce very intricate details and features. Colors are limited. For the SLS technology, it can produce parts with complex geometries and good strength. Parts typically white with a matte-like grainy surface finish, excellent for replicating bones. For the material jetting, the best solution for high details, multicolor, multi-material prints. It can produce transparent parts. Surface finish is very smooth. Models can be larger in size than FDM and SLA, but it is expensive, more expensive than other technologies as we discussed before. In a similar way as the drill jig is used in manufacturing to ensure the hole placed in the exact right location, physicians implement the guides and tools to assist in surgery. In the past, surgical guides and tools were generic devices made of titanium and aluminum, but by implementing the additive manufacturing technologies, physicians are able to create guides that precisely follow a patient's unique anatomy and accurately locating the drills or other instruments using during the surgery. Additive manufacturing guides and tools used to make placement of treatments like screws, plates, and implants in a more precise way, resulting in a better post-operative results. We can see here an example of a dental medical application guide to do a certain drilling in the teeth. Surgical guides, they are derived from patient scans so that they precisely match the anatomy of that patient, made from PC isomaterial sterilized FDM plastic. They are compatible with the human tissue for short-term contact. It will allow them to be placed against the patient anatomy for a more precise cut or drilling a hole. Anatomical models, or the bone models, and surgical guides used regularly, produced via the additive manufacturing, and can be used collaboratively to plan and test the best location for stabilizing screws or plates. Then they will confirm to the patient bone surface before performing surgery. So, technology used: FDM, best suited for multiple plastic available with some sterilizable materials. FDM is a low in strength but ideal for iterative low-cost prototyping that optimize the design of a tool or guide. SLS, used for making functional guides and tools with similar strength to injection molded nylon. PA12 nylon is also sterilizable. Regarding the implants application, additive manufacturing is able to produce fine mesh on the surface of surgical implants, while giving better osseointegration and reduce the rejection rate. To give the biocompatible materials like the titanium and cobalt, or like the titanium and cobalt chrome alloys. They are available for applications in maxillofacial, jaw and face surgery, and orthopedics. The fine surface geometry produced by additive manufacturing shown the improvement of implant survival rate by a factor of 2 compared to traditional products. The porosity of the additive manufacturing products, coupled with high level of customizations and ability to manufacture them from traditional medical materials, resulted in giving an advantage for the additive manufacturing implants to become one of the fastest growing segments of the additive manufacturing medical industry. So, technology used for implants, metal printing, it is having high accuracy and strength, and it can produce very complex geometries that match the contours of the patient's anatomy. For the prosthetics, in the US alone, there is 200,000 amputations performed each year. Prosthetics priced 5,000 to 50,000 replacements. The replacements and alternation can be time consuming and expensive. Prosthetics are personal items, so each one has to be custom made to fit the needs of the one who's wearing that. Additive manufacturing technologies, they are used to produce patient-specific components to prosthetics that match perfectly with the user's anatomy. You are able to produce complex geometries from a range of materials that made the additive manufacturing being adapted at the locations where prosthetics are in contact with the patient. This technology is used to produce everything from prosthetic leg connections that are fitting comfortably onto a user through a complex and highly customized facial prosthetics for a cancer patient. Collaborative nature of the additive manufacturing has meant that quick internet for 3D printed prosthetics revealed a huge range of peer-reviewed products that can be printed on desktop printers and at a very low cost. These designs can easily be scaled and altered to perfectly match the size of the user. Traditional manufacturing techniques and materials are used to produce structural sections of functional prosthetics. The additive manufacturing implemented at the interface section by producing complex contours fitting perfectly to users' anatomy and improving comfort and fit. It can be implemented as well on the external outer surface of the prosthetic to produce a lifelike and organic outer shell hiding the mechanical nature of the prosthetics. It is also allowing the wearer to fully customize their prosthetics to whatever the design or style they want. So this patient having a prosthetic application for his facial surgery, he lost a part of his skull due to an accident. Then the 3D printing gave him the solution and the aesthetic design that is matching the tone of his skin and the contour of his face. So for the common medical applications, we're having technology and what it is suited for: FDM, low-cost solutions for simple geometries; SLA for high-level details; SLS for strength and high level of accuracy; material jetting, suited for aesthetic applications; metal printing, parts produced this way have good strength and complex designs, and generally very expensive as a downside of it. For the hearing aids, this is another medical application widely used recently as an application for 3D printing. So they are one of the great success stories from the continued development of the additive manufacturing. There's 10 million people now wearing 3D printed hearing aids. 97% of all hearing aids are now being created with additive manufacturing. This technology reduced the cost of the custom hearing aids compared to the traditional manufacturing methods, but the ability to produce the complex and organic surfaces required for hearing aid reduced returns because of bad fit from 40% to 10%. This is an example of the hearing aids printed by the 3D printing technologies. Technology used: SLA, best suited for large majority of hearing aids, best suited for like the majority of the hearing aid designs. It is a well established in the industry as an SLA 3D printing technology. The high level of detail give excellent customization and smooth surface improvement for comfort and fit. Limitation for additive manufacturing if applied in the medical industry. While time to print parts is fast using 3D printing compared to traditional manufacturing methods, but significant time is required to convert the scan data and produce a printable STL file. So for more urgent cases like trauma surgery, generic implants or medical devices may be a more desirable solution in that case. Now, a purchase of a desktop FDM or SLA machine will range from $1,000 to $5,000. High-end additive manufacturing printers like SLS and material jetting and metal printing, they range from $200,000 to $150,000. Materials for these technologies is very expensive as well. For these technologies, the optimal solution is to get products made out of house. Sound understanding for the additive manufacturing technology and needs to be determined within the context of the desired output. So a sound understanding of each additive manufacturing technology is critical and needs to be determined within the context of the desired output. Each technology has strength and weakness, and the variation in price to get parts made can be significant.